wanted to create a convention that we felt like was truly built from the ground up to be very inclusive of everyone, like make everyone feel like they really belong in the world of fandom, because they do. Everybody deserves a seat at the table and deserves to feel comfortable and safe attending events, and not to be shut out of like networking opportunities and fun stuff to do. So that was the original impetus, and it's been so much fun that we keep doing it, just because it's the number of awesome people that we've met along the way, and just how much everyone, including us, looks forward to that weekend in October every year. It's not that big a stretch to say that sometimes people do go and then come out a little bit changed on the other side of it, at least in terms of their new friends and their new thoughts on things, and like rejuvenated inspiration.
I think the conversations is what Jesse means. When you come out of it and you've had all of these amazing conversations that you don't necessarily get to have in everyday life, people who are smart and funny and usually quite goofy, and it's becoming a family.
We would not be able to do what we do and be here right now if we didn't have the single polarity of broadcasting. Luckily, in so many ways, Multiverse provides that avenue. Our guests certainly know the value of broadcasting. As first we welcome production and stage manager by day and horror author by day and night, Steven Van Patten. Then we take a look at a Multiverse sponsor who is asking the question, do you validate? Then we have speculative fiction author and podcaster Tyra Burton joining us. And finally, we take you to a magical broadcasting landscape known simply as Studio 42, as we turn the spotlight on the Multiverse Convention with your host, Joe Compton. Yes, hello everybody. Another spotlight on the Multiverse. I am Joe Compton. It's so awesome to have you here. Thank you for joining us. And looking to my right, your left, it's the one and only Steven Van Patten. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Hello, Joe. How are you?
So I always like to start the show by asking you to kind of expand upon my little intro there and give everybody some insight into who you are and what you do. So please take it away. The stage is yours.
All right. Well, I am, in some ways, I was raised typical latchkey Gen X kid. And I used to sneak around my mother and stepfather and watched a lot of horror, read a lot of horror, and then one day decided, you know what? I think I need to do some of my own stuff because, as a African American, I, got frustrated with things like, black guy being dead first in the movie and like little stuff like that. And then I saw the Blackula series and I've seen a few other examples of that where, it's like I could actually make a certain message through chills and thrills. So that's when I started my Brookwater's Curse series, which was well received. Then I decided I'd go a little deeper and get into the serial killer thing. And that's when my two Killer Genius novels came from that. And basically the premise of those is it's a woman, black woman, who's super hyper intelligent and is basically very good at evading law enforcement and that sort of thing. And she has a certain sort of socio-political agenda. And basically I came up with that because, normally when you see a serial killer depicted in fiction, it's this super intelligent, super charismatic guy. And like Hannibal Lecter, a Caucasian. So I was thinking, and I was noticing again, as far as tropes that people of color get trapped in, it's like normally when you see a black woman in a movie who's collecting bodies or collecting numbers or body count, it's because some guy pissed her off. And I wanted to go and create something deeper and more meaningful and more socially impactful. So then that's where that came from. The other books that I have out, there's the Hell at the Way Station and Hell at Brooklyn T. They're the titles are
Are you still running the Horror Writers Association in New York? Are you still the chapter chairperson there?
Oh, no. That's not me. That's James Chambers.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't run it. I make a lot of suggestions, especially when it comes. So, and we haven't done this in a while because again, COVID kind of messed up a lot of different things. A lot of, it's funny. We just had an in-person meeting tonight before I got here, but before that, it hasn't been a lot of anything other than like Zoom and things like that. But years ago, before the dark times, we were doing these things where we would get the core group together and we would have readings. And I suggested, hey, why don't I DJ? And everybody except Mark looked at me and was like, what are you talking about? And basically I explained, hey, as opposed to having the usual thing of, you know, somebody coming up to a microphone. Welcome to the Horror Writers Association. Well, our next reader is going to, as opposed to doing that, I was thinking maybe jazz things up a little bit. You know, I bring out the wheels. Now don't don't get twisted. I'm not Funk Master Flex or anything like that, but I can handle a rig well enough to, while people are coming in at first, getting in drinks, I play a little, you know, like a little intro music, you know, just like everybody gets settled in. And that's usually like what I feel like playing, you know. Doesn't even, I was, oh my God, you would have laughed, because one time I did Spanish music. So I'm playing like Suavemente, you know, Suavemente, besame. And the bus boys were like, mi gente. It's like, yeah, it was wild. But you know, it's good. It gets people in the mood. Yeah. And then when we start the thing, I would take the microphone. I'm not not hosting, but I intro James as he's getting ready to come up and do his thing. And I say something to the effect of, welcome to Night Terrors, brought to you by the New York chapter of the Horror Writers Association and Count Chocula Cereals, or something silly like that. And I'll give it up for your host, James Chambers. And I hit like the theme from Hellraiser. and James, who's, you know, just like, you know, suburban dad from Long Island. He's a great horror writer, but he doesn't present like a horror writer. You know what I mean? He just kind of comes up on stage to the Hellraiser and he's looking at me like, what's the matter with you? And, you know, and then he starts hosting the thing. And then as people come up to read, I give them play on and play off music. And according to their style, I kind of figure out what, you know, like if I know somebody's going to do a werewolf story, I might play the theme from Jack Nicholson's Wolf. Or, you know, if you're sort of like a steampunk person, you know, maybe the music from Sherlock Holmes, the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes, you know, something like that. Just to kind of make it interesting, you know what I'm saying? And that's, you know, that's pretty much been like my thing, to just kind of like help out with those events like that and whatever. Nice. And I'll probably be getting back to that at some point, because we are starting to get people together and starting to do readings again, and it's been good. And you know, it's and this is the season. Yeah, you know, like everybody's already got like, you know, I was like, you know, we're trying to put like readings together, and people are like, oh my God, but I'm supposed to be reading over here, and I'm supposed to be reading over here. Like all of a sudden, we're like these busy like stand-up comics. You know, they got to go to Caroline's, and then, you know, the Punch Bowl or whatever the hell, and whatever. And then of course that'll stop. Like first week of November, everybody will forget all about us again, and then we'll get back to regular, you know, just writing and being grim and mysterious.
Okay, so I have something along that line. However, I just want to mention, just to bring the conversation back to Multiverse a little bit here, that I don't know if you've ever been to the opening ceremonies, but they do the same thing at the opening ceremonies, where they have the track directors come up and they all pick their own intro music, and they come up and then they you know, try to entice the audience to come to their track. So it reminded me of that. But
yeah, I haven't been to opening ceremony yet, for the simple fact that I usually have to work and then fly into Atlanta. Yeah. This year I will be there bright and early for a change. So this is actually good.
But I was curious, knowing Mark a little bit and knowing what he likes horror-wise, because I've been on so many panels with him about horror films. Mm-hmm. What music did you choose for him when he comes up to read?
We speak ahead of time. So no, he already says he wants, whenever I bring him up, he wants music from Psycho.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yep. That's exactly what he wants.
I was gonna guess Nightmare on Elm Street, but you know, because he's a big Freddy guy too. So yeah.
No, he I'm telling you, you know, that's my boy, so I give him what he wants. You know, like, all right. I mean, I think once I asked him if he wanted I don't even remember what I was suggesting, but it was cut based on the piece I knew he was going to read. And it was like, no, man, I'm a psycho. It's like, all right, yeah, whatever. Okay.
Nice. That's a good theme to come to, though. I think as a horror writer, I think everybody would love that one.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly it. Or if not that part of the music, like that part I think that Eminem sampled, that sort of that melody.
Yeah.
That. Yeah.
That's funny. So you've been to Multiverse multiple times. Did you do the Monster Mash? Were you on the panel?
So because everybody knows Mark and I are cool. In Atlanta, in Multiverse, I have not been on the Monster Mash. However, I'm on it this year.
Oh, nice.
Which, because Mark's the moderator.
Yes.
And this is either going to go really well for him or really bad.
Well, fans who have attended the Monster Mash, like myself, a few times in the audience, hope that not hope. That's the wrong adjective. We don't want to see Mark go down, but when Mark starts to fidget a little bit, it's fun. It makes it a lot more interesting, that moment.
Absolutely.
When he starts to twitch, you know that things are going to go sideways fast, and it's really fun to watch.
And to be fair, when I'm in the audience, I try not to mess with him. I actually,
me too.
I'm like, all right, let me not make this worse than it is. Kirk messed with him the last time we were all there, though. It was like Kirk threw a couple of grenades at the whole panel, and he got the Mark Abbott, would you please shut up now? Look.
Well, last year he walked out of the room, which is something I've never seen him do before. So that was pretty funny.
Heard about that.
Do you like to do panels? Is that something you're really interested in? Are you a big panel guy?
To a degree, absolutely. Yeah. And it's a good way to definitely meet people you haven't met before. Sure. I think my favorite most recent panel scenario was I went to I was asked to participate in a Star Wars panel, right?
Oh, nice.
And I walked in, and right away the vibe was a little like, because I got on my velvet jacket, I'm kind of like fresh to death, and I stroll in, and later on, people told me what the weird side eyes were all about, because they were like, "This is a horror dude. What's he doing here in the Star Wars panel?" But then I started my Jedi mind tricks, and I started, talking about and one of the questions was, all right, Disney puts you in charge of Star Wars. What's the first thing you do? And I went second. So I forget what the first person said, but I jumped in and said, I would do an all Wookiee series. And then everybody lost their minds. And then after that, everybody was like, oh yeah, you belong in the Star Wars. I was like, yeah, don't mess with my Star Wars gangster, son. I'm not that guy. I'm that guy.
With what you write and the importance of what you're writing, do you feel like you sometimes get pigeonholed on panels a little bit too much, that opportunity to be on like the Star Wars panels doesn't happen as often as you would like it to?
I don't have that problem so much at Multiverse. Happens.
Yeah. Multiverse being the outlier of that. Yeah.
I get stuff that sometimes I'm like, wait, you want me to talk about what? So then I gotta very discreetly go back to my hotel room and bone up on whatever it is real quick so I don't look stupid, and then come back downstairs and be like, all right, let's talk about Lizzie Borden or whatever the hell,
So for people who don't know, you're making the trek downwards to Multiverse from New York. So what keeps you coming back to it? Why do you make that trip every year?
Well, first of all, there's a gang. It's like the Atlanta gang down there, Milton Davis and a few others. And, panels, selling books, all of that's essential. It's important, the whole nine. But the scream that we have at the bar is, because again, miracles of alcohol consumption.
Yeah.
A straight riot. It is, and it's those particular kind of friendships, the friendships where it's like you don't have to talk to each other every day. You just kind of like, when you do get together, you just kind of pick up where you left off. Oh my God. And then on top of that, we're all paying attention to each other on social media. So whatever craziness you posted on social media, that's likely going to come up. It's like, I saw you in that bat costume. What the hell was you doing? It's a straight riot. That alone is worth the trip, But then of course there's the part of this that it's just important for the writers' careers. And working the hours I work, I don't always get the same amount of time to be, out doing my thing. So it's like, basically it's like what I end up having to do in a lot of these instances is I have to figure out which conventions work best for me. And there's always a timing issue with the day job and everything else like that. But, it's a matter of the camaraderie. It's a matter of knowing who you're going to see and hang out with and all that. But it's also a matter of how the convention cultivates itself so that you feel like you're actually getting like what you need out of it, whether it's, baseline exposure or, just a chance to talk to somebody who you haven't had a chance to talk to, who could actually help you or that you can help them, and all that good stuff. It's always about, I talk about this a lot on the panels, the concept of finding your tribe.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, that's super important.
Sure. And then, Multiverse does cultivate that. So that's a really good thing about Multiverse. And then that's a real attractive thing about it, for sure. And it's, it's only a weekend too. So that's not too bad as far as time goes, spending time.
Oh yeah. No doubt.
So you do sell at Multiverse then?
I do.
You have a table? Yeah.
We will definitely, the four of us will be there in full swing. Yes. So please come, and you know what? Just come for the laugh.
Yeah. Do you have the bar package, Steven? Did you get the bar package this year?
Did I get the bar package? I don't know what I got. I had to actually double check that.
You might want to go grab one if you have it. If 4 hours of drinking for $40, I mean, you can't beat that. So.
Oh yeah. If I didn't do that, I would be surprised.
I would be too. That's awesome. Well, yeah, the thing that struck me about reading about you and your writing too, it was interesting, is that you put a lot of emphasis on putting stuff out there for charity and doing some charitable aspects to your writing. Talk a little bit about that and why that was so important to you and why you did that.
Well, it's kind of funny. I mentioned this in the foreword of SVP's Little Black Book of Terror. How I had a really bad day on a show once. And oddly enough, I'm back in that same building now, but under much better circumstances. But I had I guess it was 2010. I had a really bad day and I was left alone in a room with a very high window. And for a second, my mind kind of went somewhere that no one's mind should, but let's face it, we live in trying times. And it was really only, and then what's wild is you would think this massive legendary TV building, the floor as high up as it was, you would think the window would not open. I was actually able to open the window. And that was a little, that brought it a little further. Had I not been interrupted, I want to say, I was just having a moment. But I was in the middle of this haze that I was going through. I was interrupted, closed the window, went back to my life. And didn't really think about it too much more after that. But then years later, a fraternal organization that both Mark and myself and Kirk, actually, all three of us actually belong to, Gamma Xi Phi, which is an artistic fraternity that we've been members of for a few years. A couple of years back, they asked me to host a suicide awareness event. And when that happened, I was kind of like, oh, and then it kind of brought that moment back and the importance of, the importance of the mental health aspect of all of that kind of came crashing in on me. And I did the event. The event went very well. And I was like, you know what? This is probably something I should continue with. So what ended up happening is I got a bunch of HWA members and a few non-HWA members together, and I said, hey, I'm going to do a charity thing. I have absolutely no money to pay anybody, but if you have something laying around you want to contribute. And so many people were good enough to send their stories in. I had, I co-edited with Candace Nola, who's awesome. And then because I have so many friends who are now playing with AI and Photoshop and to be fair, one of my best friends, a gentleman named Julian DeArmas, who's also like a legendary graphic artist. Like people say they're a graphic artist, but he actually has his stuff on buses and stuff like that. And he's one of my best friends, and he has saved me so much money. Just doing my covers and helping me with fake trim and other things that I don't even know what the hell you're talking about, Mr. Printer. So I'm going to let you talk to my friend Julian, and he takes care of all that. So, it was just this whole group effort thing, perfect storm kind of situation. We put the book out. It's been about a year now. And it hasn't been exactly flying off the shelves or anything. Because again, I have very limited time to market, and it kind of is what it is. But we've been able to get a couple of bucks over to SAVE, which is Suicide Awareness Voices of Education. And I intend to continue to pursue that for the foreseeable future.
What's the title of the book, Eric, so everybody can go get it and help you out there? Let's market it right now.
Yes, how about that? SVP's Little Black Book of Terror.
Nice. Everybody go check that out, and it goes to a good cause, so that's really awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, within your circle, I know that there's a film contingency. There's a tendency to want to do film a lot. I mean, for your day job, I would imagine it's kind of like asking a chef to make something when he gets home from work, right? Kind of idea. Or is it just you just haven't had the time to kind of put something together that you dabble in, that you haven't dabbled in film as of yet? I mean, I know you probably helped out and worked on some of the films that Mark has done and stuff like that, but is that something that you're interested in doing?
Well, in one of Mark's films, I'm actually playing a vampire.
Yeah.
and typical like tribute to Lee and Cushing, he does kill me. And so we did shoot one thing. We're having some. It's been hell trying to edit the thing, to be honest with you. But we're trying to get that done. And this particular video, if we ever get it together, is based on a short story that I wrote called Dead Man Country. And Dead Man Country is literally about a zombie who auditions on an American Idol type show. And
I can see the challenges in editing already.
Yeah, it's so many things. Not to mention the fact that I actually had to come up with a song.
Yeah.
It's
not copywritten. That won't get you guys in trouble.
No,
kind of.
It was cool. I wrote the song.
Yeah.
So I wrote the song. Met up with some people, and I got a guitar player, and so the song is out. So the song is actually on iTunes.
Nice.
Believe it or not. Yeah, me and my tribute to Johnny Cash. Yeah, skinny black kid from Brooklyn. I'm singing a country song. But yeah, Dead Man Country, and we're gonna promise we're gonna get that cut real soon. But yeah, as far as anything else, I think it's coming in time. In time. I have started on some script work as well, and I'm hoping to start putting those things under certain people's noses. I do have a manager now, so
nice.
That's things are rolling along.
Nice. Well,
so
I appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to me tonight. It's been really awesome to talk to you about all this stuff, and I look forward to seeing you in October, and maybe we'll have a beer together and hang out. And
maybe,
please. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Steven, and tell everybody where they can find your stuff at for those who won't be at Multiverse that want to check it out.
Well, first of all, thank you, Joe. I'm very grateful to you to have me up here, ranting on about my stuff. But the best ways to get at me, social media wise, I am at SVP Thinks on Twitter and Instagram. Oh, X, sorry. X and Instagram. Good old government name, Steven Van Patten on Facebook. And the website, which I managed to figure out how to put there in the old box there, is www.laughingblackvampire.com. That's where you can pick up any number of the things I've written, including the Brookwater's Curse series, the 2 installments of the Killer Genius series, and those other books that I mentioned that I co-authored with Mr. Abbott and Mr. Johnson.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Thank you, Steven. And we'll be right back with Tyra Burton and after this message from a sponsor. So stay tuned, everybody.
I'm Joel Rees, and this is Do You Validate, a podcast production studio based in Atlanta, Georgia.
Were you married to a podcast? A podcast? A
Yes.
we are married to this podcast. We are in a polyamorous relationship.
We've both been dating comics, so
We have everything you need for your video podcast, as well as a variety of backdrops and stage settings to fit the unique style of your show.
Some things happened after Spain.
Tell me more.
Do you want to interview people on your podcast?
I'm being silly with other comics, and now I'm not silly on stage. So there's like a balance there.
Well, like for me, that part, the riffing, I love.
Looking for a setup for a solo podcast?
I'm going to be honest with you. When it comes to flavored drinks, when in doubt, that lemonade go get you right.
Do you want to make a podcast with co-hosts and rotating guests?
Did you participate in like the It's Dukes and then like they did the mail?
No.
All right, don't
They
have a dunk booth.
Don't
inside
scoff your face.
He scoffed his face like he would.
Above that.
Are you looking for a more cozy one-on-one style show?
Do prioritize people. They will prioritize you.
I love that. You are very like community oriented.
Do you not need video because you're doing an audio-only podcast?
What's the horse's name?
The horse's name is D'Artagnan.
D'Artagnan just like
and lets out the most magical neigh.
D'Artagnan.
We have everything you need to do a single or multicam show here at the Do You Validate studio. With 4K cameras, high-end microphones, and quality lights. Waving to someone who you thought was waving to you, but they were waving to the person behind you until you die of embarrassment.
Can I be honest? For me, that's 3 times.
We're fully set up for live streaming as well as video conferencing for all of your needs.
Marlon is trying to leave the restaurant without getting caught by Christian.
Christian is eating Marlon's avocado toast.
Damn!
Don't want to edit your own podcast? Let us do it. We offer competitive rates as well as bundle packages for people that record more than 1 episode a month with us. Had you met him on set before?
Yes, he came to set once, and he brought some weird pickle juice that was in like a strange bottle.
It was very polite. I said, you should drink this. It is delicious.
Yeah. Every single one of our sessions comes with myself or another one of our engineers as your on-site producer, so you can focus on the subject matter you care about and let us worry about the tech side.
The other day, I put the Ninja Turtles in World War II.
Hard. Storming the beach.
For more information on our rates and services, check out our website, doyouvalidate.com.
Produced by Do You Validate.
As I just type a message to Tyra in the private chat. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. And yes, I have the awesome Tyra Burton with me.
Aw,
couldn't be more excited to do that, to have that. And we were actually supposed to get together before Dragon Con happened.
True.
And just things happened, and I couldn't do the show that time. So, but I'm glad that we were able to reschedule and have you back here during this time and get to talk to you tonight. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself and who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm Tyra Burton, and by day, I'm a professor at Kennesaw State University, where I teach about digital marketing and social media, and that kind of rules my life to a certain extent. So, I've been podcasting for 15, 16 years. My first podcast was actually about World of Warcraft back in the day. I have a podcast called The Geeky Side, which is on a hiatus. And then Geek Meets Social is the one I'm working on now. But I'm also a co-host for my college for our podcast called Building Bold Connections. And I do a live stream with a digital media track called Be Awesome Together once a week. It is. That. It's crazy. I never thought I'd be on camera, and I'm still not happy about it. As you can see, I'm still not green screening. I'm like, y'all just still. You know.
I don't mess with any of that either. It's just not worth it. It's a lot more painful than it appears to be.
I have a green screen over there.
Yeah,
you can see that I've popped it up for you tonight.
I appreciate that, but you're somebody who's been to Multiverse a few times as well.
I have.
And what is it about Multiverse that keeps you coming back?
I think the people. I love the fact that Multiverse is just a really welcoming group of people, very inclusive, and it's just a fun, relaxing weekend. Like some cons, you feel like you run all over the place and you chalk up 30 miles, and you don't have to do that at Multiverse. There's so many tracks and so much, like if you love sci-fi or horror or fantasy, it's there. And so you get all those experiences, but hanging out in the bar with my author friends is the best. I mean, I get to see Tales by Bob, dear Bob Magoo, who I adore, and just sit around and chat. And my friend Liam, you know Liam Fisher.
Yeah, I know Liam, yeah.
He's actually downstairs right now in my house. We were having our Pathfinder night tonight, and we were talking about you, Joe. So he said, Joe's great. You'll have a good time. I was like, I trust you, Liam.
Well, appreciate that, Liam. Thank you. Yeah, I love Liam. Liam's really awesome.
Liam's the best.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's just something about the camaraderie at Multiverse that is just a tad bit different than anything else you would experience. The intimacy of it helps a little bit, and this year we're expanding a little bit, so it'll be interesting to see how that affects that. But I think it's going to be to the positive because there's so much more space for everybody to operate, and I feel like sometimes we were starting to outgrow where we were.
Yeah, I would agree. I've been there, but not for a convention. I've been there for a wedding. And it was a lovely, it's more like a resort area in many ways. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's just have multiple buildings. But so I'm excited to see how that works. Also excited to find out where the bar is because I don't know that part.
It's literally as you walk in the door, you'll see it right to your left. It is
Awesome.
It is like it's an entire room basically. It's really huge.
Well,
Yeah,
we need
it's really
that.
big. It's connected to the restaurant, but the restaurant has its own little side thing. But it is kind of it's almost like an entire lobby. It is pretty big. So
Very nice.
yeah, and the bar itself stretches quite a distance. It's I'm trying to think. It's very similar to the Hilton bar where it kind of goes all the way around. Yeah. So it's very similar to that.
So funny enough, the weekend that we stayed there was because I had to leave Multiverse, go to a wedding, go back to Multiverse. My husband was in the bar then without me. And by the time I got back down there, you see, I was just previewing this place for you guys. The bar was closed and I had to figure out how to find my husband, which was an entire experience all on its own because there are so many buildings. I just want to say that.
Yeah, it is. It is
Get a
much
map.
more massive. And I think I just think it's going to be fun. It's a really conducive environment for the way that Multiverse runs their tracks and everything like that. So I think it's going to work out pretty well. I mean, as podcasters, I don't know if you're going to be broadcasting it all during that weekend, but the Studio 42 is an exciting addition to this year's Multiverse, where they're going to have a dedicated room for podcasters. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So right after this, I have a little ad about it, so you can go check it out. But yeah,
I will pay attention.
Right after we finish our conversation. But yeah, I'm real excited about that aspect of it because I broadcasted every Sunday from there, but we would go out onto the patio and
that's crazy.
Yeah, and do it. So I'm real excited that there's an actual room.
Yeah.
Because as you know, environment is everything when it comes to podcasting.
It is. And if you're out and about, you got to have the right mics to do that. And not everybody does.
Yeah. Vanessa's here. Hello, Vanessa.
Oh, I love Vanessa.
Hello.
Hey, lady, we were talking about you tonight, too. We were just talking about everybody downstairs.
Yeah, I got to experience something that I really, really appreciated at Dragon Con, which was the opportunity to kind of be a tourist and roam around a little bit.
Good for you.
And I got to see your panel with Bob and Clint and on streaming, and and that was really, really amazing. It was a really good panel, and I appreciated a lot of what you guys said about streaming and things like that. I know it's probably it's a passionate subject into your heart, obviously.
It is.
But
and it's just such a way to build community. I mean, that's how I found Clint and Bob, was through my love of podcasting and being on their podcast. Except for Bob, if you're out there, I still don't have my invite. Just saying. I filled out your form, dude. Okay. I like to shame him whenever I can.
I believe he said that it was going to be the first week of October. He was going to start talking to people about it. So, yeah. But do you don't sell at Multiverse, do you?
I don't sell at Multiverse this year. Hopefully next year. I just had my birthday, and my commitment to myself was I've got a fantasy series I've got to finish, because if it doesn't, it's going to drive me insane in my brain. And then I actually have a series of social media books that I'm putting out. I was going to put out one. Everybody likes to share.
Yeah, it's a pastime for sure.
He's so easy to do it too.
He's so sweet. He's a sweetheart.
He's the best. But I will have, no hope. I must be Yoda about this. So the fantasy and the social media books are coming. I've been working with a career coach trying to figure out my what's next. I kind of crossed a line in my 50s. I turned 56. So it's time to get some of those things done and get my ADHD brain a little focused and write the stories that are driving me crazy.
Have you done or thought about doing the Learn track from your educational background?
Every single year.
Where's the time, right?
And like, like every good academic, I'm like, well, crap, there went that deadline.
Yeah.
But I am teaching a unique class this spring for the honors department about marketing mayhem. I'm talking about Taylor Swift and the NFL and football. So I might try to do something with that because that's kind of fandom related and how when fandoms collide, what craziness can happen.
Emily Levert is doing something about the NHL this year with her presentation. So that'll be NHL. So yeah, sports are making their way into multiverse even. So multiverse is so expansive. It's very, but yeah, about how the Golden Knights, because she's a big Golden Knights fan.
They're great.
About how they marketed themselves in Vegas and kind of made a name for themselves, which is kind of and how it relates to artists and how artists market themselves. So it's kind of an interesting presentation from what she was telling me. So I'm real excited. I'm going to try to figure out if I can get to that one or not. We'll see.
I'll have to chat with her. Anytime I can find a nerdy academic marketer, I'm excited. Because they don't think I'm quite as weird as most of my faculty do.
I love it. I'm looking forward to chatting with you and sitting down and waxing intellectual. That'll be fun. So
it'll be fun, and we can find a bar, and
Yeah. Well, so as far as writing goes, you said you're working on a fantasy series or finishing a fantasy series. Yeah. I'm curious. What is it about this series that you've really gravitated toward? What do you love about what you're doing right now?
So I grew up as a writer in the romance world. Mm-hmm. I have a sci-fi romance novel that I co-wrote with Sherry Fillion on that book. But all of a sudden one day I woke up and I went, why am I trying to write romance when really I'm a fantasy girl? Like, I grew up on Tolkien. The Hobbit changed my life. And then Star Wars, which I know is sort of sci-fi. I mean, it can realm into the fantasy world as well. And I was like...
And the romance world, if we're being honest.
Yeah. Oh, no. I was totally a Han Solo Princess Leia girl, and I will never forgive them for what they did to them in the We're not going to speak of that, but I will speak of Timothy Zahn's version. That's what I'll speak of. But I was like, why aren't I writing that? And then all of a sudden, I was just driving and a story dropped in my lap about familiars and wizards and witches. And I went, fantasy cozies. That's what a girl who grew up watching, Murder, She Wrote and Quincy with her mom and Ellery Queen, but also was reading Tolkien at the same time and also a side of romance. I was like, I have found my cross genre. So I'm just excited because I think that there's a whole realm of fantasy that can be lighthearted. It doesn't have to be as dense as Tolkien and still have some of that romance, which I've grown up on and enjoy. Quincy was my favorite. Like, I still watch reruns. If it's on, I'm watching Quincy.
So you're a fan of romantasy then. You're kind of because we've had conversations on this show about it. We've had conversations obviously on other shows that I do here about this being kind of the newest trend, the latest thing, but it's been around for a very, very long time. We just hadn't coined it romantasy until recently. So
they were sneaking those puppies in. The truth is we love relationships. I love it. Mom and I would watch Ellery Queen. I read all of them. I'm also a big Sherlock Holmes fan. So any of those, like I grew up on Agatha Christie, and Agatha Christie is like the original cozy.
Remind me when I see you in October. I have somebody who's coming to Multiverse, who's a friend of mine. She wrote a Sherlock Holmes mystery and was part of the society and stuff like that. I'll introduce the two of you.
Oh, I would love that. Yeah, right now I have the Calm app, and they have The Hound of the Baskervilles is one of the sleep stories. So I've been going to sleep to that for the last couple of nights. It's been awesome.
Which side of the clans are you on in terms of the home? Are you because there's two of them, right? There's the Sherlockians and then there's Holmesians or something like that, right?
I have no idea. I liked Elementary instead of BBC Sherlock Holmes, which I realize is probably not popular.
So you're more of the modern
I'm
Sherlocker,
modern.
yeah.
I mean, but I loved Robert Downey Jr.'s version.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Guy Ritchie is a really good one of my favorite filmmakers, so I really enjoyed that as well I enjoyed it because of Robert Downey Jr. as well. But Guy Ritchie is
awesome.
Yeah, somebody I really gravitate toward. Vanessa was curious about your nonfiction books that you're working on.
So I have one called Socially Evergreen, which will be kind of like trying to write a social media book that doesn't age. I like to do the impossible. That's really, speak it into existence.
I don't think that's that impossible. But,
No, I have been doing social media and podcast and blogs since they started. Like the class that I teach at Kennesaw State was the first social media class in the university system. So I've been doing this a long time, and there are things that do not change, that are going to be constant. They're probably going to be constant in the future. I also think having a really good background in marketing and understanding target markets and understanding niches and building community. So it's a book that it's about that. But I'm also going to be putting out a series of if they were fiction books, we'd call them novellas, but short books about each platform and what you can do about them. So I'm excited about it. I'm about 2/3 done with Socially Evergreen. So I just got to put in the time in the chair and it'll be done.
I'm wondering what you thought of the news from LinkedIn this week, how you feel about that aspect of what they're trying to do.
So I don't know. I know what's happening over on Instagram, but not on LinkedIn.
So they've claimed that if you're doing posts, they're taking some of those posts and training AI with it.
That's depressing.
Yeah.
So I have a love-hate relationship with AI. Because I'm a marketer, I need to train my students how to use it, but I think ethics are a thing that we need to be chatting about, and legalities. And yeah, that would be a no with me, because I did not give them permission to, but I bet you they've changed their terms of service.
Yeah, exactly. That's the sneaky thing that has been going on. Yeah, we've been talking a lot about that with Adobe and everybody doing those kind of weird things like that, right? So
I know. Well, Adobe, I mean,
you have to, Vanessa says you have to actively opt out to do.
Oh, wonderful! So I'll be going to my LinkedIn profile after this and opting out of it.
I'm curious from your perspective. Right now, I mean, there's always that notion for our artists, especially authors, who share an introverted gene and are not fairly sophisticated online, don't want to really be sophisticated online. They want to kind of just write their books and go about their business, and they realize that social media is kind of part of the process and part of that, and so they're always wondering, and it's always a grand question about where they should be. Should they be chasing the trends? Should they is the contention to find what you really love and stick with it? What is your advice in terms of social media and approaching it?
So for almost everybody, but particularly for authors, know where your audience is. You should always know where your target is. If you got younger people, then you need to be on younger channels. If you've got, I'm a Gen Xer. I know everybody forgets we exist, but we do. And we're on Facebook and Instagram. We're such a lovely generation. Screw them.
We are.
But we always get left off the map because there's so few of us.
Yeah.
But we're going to be on Facebook and Instagram is where we primarily are. So find out where your market is that you're comfortable being. So if Facebook is your jam and you have a young audience, you're probably going to have to figure out maybe Instagram, because you can do a lot of cross posting, which I normally would not suggest, but I think it definitely can be a strategy if that's not a channel you're comfortable in. But you don't have to be on every channel. You don't have to post constantly, but you need to be consistent in your posting. And I think the biggest thing, especially the younger you go, the more authentic you need to be. So I teach college students and I tell them, when you find Tyra Burton, and there are other Tyra Burtons, but I'm the only one with pink hair, that when you find me online, that's who I am. There's not like the secret profile for my family and friends. There's only this, because I have to teach you how to be authentic and be safe and know where your boundaries are. So with authors, I tell them the same thing. It's hard. Like my husband is basically a social media ghost for the most part, but he knows how to pose for a selfie amazingly well. Like I can lift up the camera, his head comes down. He's a foot taller than me. It's awesome. But find out where your audience is, where you're comfortable, and just try to be consistent, which with most people means, hey, on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, I'm going to spend half an hour doing this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just do it, because unfortunately, whether you're trad or non-trad, you're going to have to do social or do some sort of marketing, and social actually is the easiest to do out of those.
Yeah. You know who else takes a really good selfie is Liam. I always make sure that I get a selfie with him because Liam just pops in there and it's
well,
just
he's got long arms.
Yeah, with a long neck too. He always kind of tilts his head and does a very loving pose for us, and it's a really nice. He's a good picture. He takes good pictures.
He's one of the few people that are taller than my husband.
Oh, nice.
Because hubby's like 6'4", and I think Liam's 6'8".
Yeah. So. I think you're right. Yeah.
What does it say that I know my friend's height?
I just know it because I asked him. That's how I know, because I'm so much smaller than him. So I look up and I go, okay, what am I dealing with here?
I can just hide behind Liam, which I love.
Yeah, there's a lot of that too. Yeah, he's just amazing. I have just nothing but love for that man. So
I've known Liam longer than I've known my husband.
Nice. So. Vanessa said they added a place in the settings and it's defaulted as on. That's LinkedIn, and she's put a link in the TYT groups so that
wonderful.
If you want to go and take your thing off, you can do that there. Everybody, yep.
And Liam is awesome, and LinkedIn is sneaky.
Yeah, I mean
they're all sneaky. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, and they're contrite about it too, which is just the worst idea I can think of to be when you're dealing with consumers who are already pretty upset about what is going on in the world, and then you're trying to sneak in there, and because I get it as a business, it makes sense, but you have to. I think if you were forthright about it, people would be a little bit more forgiving. But they kind of stick to their guns a little bit too much, and it really hurts them in the long run. Adobe really just spiked themselves so bad.
Yeah, there's no way. I was literally getting ready to learn in Audition, and I was like, nope, not going to. I will keep using GarageBand. Thank you very much, Apple.
But yeah, and everybody's finding alternatives, and that hurts their business too. And hey, you reap what you sow sometimes, right? So I mean,
100%. And the other thing that disturbs me is that people are not as disturbed as I am about it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, can you think about the ramifications of this? Yeah, any corporation. So, like, I have a friend that works for a major Fortune 500, and they created their own AI. So they can use it in-house to do certain things, and it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. But you don't step outside of their AI because they don't know how those are written, where the content came from, any of those things. And there's the whole other conversation about copyright.
Yeah.
But
I think
it's going to be the wild, wild west, and Europe, I think, will save us.
Yeah. This is, I mean, you and I both remember the wild, wild west of Kindle in those days and things like that. And this is kind of very similar. It's reminding me a lot about like that aspect of it. But there's also, I think you were right on about the ethics aspect of it. I think that's where this is a little different than anything else, because Amazon was willing to police to a certain extent the ethics out of the Kindle aspects, but now none of these companies want to do any of that because it's going to lose them money if they do. So it's I'm not trying to be sympathetic and say they're in a tough spot, but they really are if they're going to approach it that way, because there is an ethical line with these things that have to be drawn. And
I was at an AI conference, and I heard a gentleman speak that was basically like, we just need to go. Don't think about it. We're going to lose to China, and our businesses are going to fall behind. And I'm like in the back of the room going, ethics?
Yeah.
Legalities? No, we don't care. Okay. I'd care. And that's what I teach my students is about those things. But, I think hopefully everybody takes a step back. I think Europe is going to be the one that really helps us with legislation and with things like that. I just want to know that you created it with AI. Just be honest.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to know anyway.
Yeah.
I've read 110 cover letters recently, and I can tell you which ones of them were written with AI.
Especially right now. Yeah. Vanessa says, I was just looking at AI you can run on your own machine and teach it your own stuff. I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah. And I do know some people that do that. And that's what multi-million-dollar companies are doing. They're building their own AIs. They have to.
Europe is always at the forefront of legislation. Yeah. Well, plus they're very protective of their citizens, which I think is a very interesting dynamic for them as well.
What a concept.
Right? Yeah.
Let's take care of people.
I also think creativity is something that we need to covet and take care of too.
I worry about that so much. I just had a conversation with somebody about it. And to me, the problem with AI is that you lose your voice.
Yeah.
And you have to be really careful because even if you're using something like Grammarly, if you're not careful, it's going to change your voice. And by the time you get to it, your voice doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Vanessa's completely right.
Yeah.
As she already knows.
I apologize, Tyra. We're coming up on it, but we didn't get to talk a little bit. I would love to talk more about you. So we'll have to have you back on Goaty now and talk a lot about you because I think you're fascinating. This is an awesome conversation. It was really nice to talk to you and sit down with you. Sorry we didn't get the chance to do that at Dragon Con, but we will definitely do that at Multiverse for sure.
Absolutely. So, I will. Are you a hugger?
I am, yes, absolutely.
Okay, I'm a hugger too.
I've been told I really give a really good hug. So
well, good because I like good hugs, and so I always ask first. I've learned fist bump, wave from far away, or hug. Which are you?
Yeah.
Which I love about Multiverse because I know right off the bat if I can hug you.
Yeah, awesome.
So no,
well,
this was awesome, Joe. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, I look forward to that, and tell everybody where they can find what you've got out right now and your podcast. Tell everybody where they can get in there and start listening to what you're doing.
So the best piece of advice I could give anybody that's a creator is own your own website because that's the only place you own on the web. So if you want to find out about me or find out where you can find all my things, go to tyraburton.com. No, Vanessa's a good hugger too. I didn't get to hug her, but once. I don't even know if I got to hug her once. It was a crazy Dragon Con. That's all I got to say. I'm so looking forward to Multiverse where I know I can find people.
That's probably a good thing for you in terms of Vanessa because she got COVID. So yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But yeah, I got to hug her a couple times during that time, so that was good. But yeah, I mean, whatever. I'll take the hug. I'll take the risk.
Yeah, no, I just, 75,000 people. I did not get anything. My husband got con crud. Guess who gave it to me?
Yeah.
But I'm still living a COVID-free life over here. So knock on wood and go get a booster before I come to con.
I'm doing that as well. I'm actually going the first week of October. So I'm looking at that. Yeah. All right, everybody. Well,
Joe, thanks.
Thank you, Tyra. And we've got a little something about Studio 42, which we referenced here right now. And then I'll be back to close the show. So enjoy that, and I'll be right back.
Are you ready for the latest and greatest new area from the Multiverse Convention and our friends at Do You Validate? Welcome to Studio 42, which is a free-to-use dedicated space for podcasters, streamers, and content creators to reserve time and capture your amazing content right in the heart of Multiverse without interruptions or distractions. The good folks at Do You Validate will be providing 4 microphones, 4 headphones, a stationary camera, a mixing board, and tables and chairs. You bring whatever you need to stream your content. Studio 42 is completely free to reserve and use, and it's included in your Multiverse membership. If you do need additional services, however, Do You Validate is offering killer discounted prices on storage, editing, and production. You can find all of that and more information on how to sign up at multiversecon.org/studio42.
As someone who has already secured his space at Studio 42, I can tell you there is a lot of space available still. So if you're a podcaster, a broadcaster, somebody out there who would like to live stream during the event, Studio 42 has a sign-up form. You can get all the information at the website. It'll take you right to the form where you can sign up and pick a time and a date and do that. And like it said in there, Do You Validate is doing all the tech work for you in terms of setting it up so that you have premium audio and video if that's what you're doing. Those guys are fantastic. Joel and his crew are just amazing, and it's going to be really, 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 really great. And so I'm really looking forward to finally being inside for once to do my live show, which is, you would think isn't, not a blessing, but sometimes when you can't control the environment, it gets a little much. But that being said, I'm real excited about that and the opportunity. I will be streaming This Week in Indies, our Sunday show, live noon Eastern from Multiverse, as we do every year, but at the studio. Yeah, Vanessa said, "Remember when you did the show at the stairwell?" Yeah, that was a fun one too. Me and Katie trying to set things up there, but but like I said, that's a really good opportunity to do that. I think it's worth it. So everybody go check that out if you are a broadcaster, podcaster, and if you're thinking about broadcasting or podcasting, it's also a good opportunity to get some networking in. Go check out some of these people doing streams and shows and talk to them and network a little bit. You'll get to know the people who are doing that, like Tyra, who's been doing it and doing it well for a very long time. So that is a good opportunity as well, just even to think about that aspect of it. I'm looking forward to seeing the studio, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you in October for the Multiverse Convention. We are getting so close, everybody. We've got another show on Monday for Spotlight. Because both of them are in the chat, Miss Anita Stewart and Miss A.F. Stewart and Vanessa Juta was her guest for our next episode of Words That Kill, which will drop tomorrow at noon Eastern for everybody. It is about how to handle the villains that kill for fun. It is incredible conversation. I had a lot of fun watching it and editing through it. I think you're going to really, really enjoy that show. So go check that out. That'll drop at noon Eastern tomorrow. And then, of course, Sunday we have This Week in Indies, which I will be hosting, talking about how music affects our writing and is part of our writing. I've got a really good panel there. It's going to be a lot of fun for that as well. With that being said, thank you, everybody, for joining us for another Spotlight on the Multiverse. And remember that it's always time to go indie now. See you again soon. Bye, everybody.